Offering some improvements over the flawed original, BlackGuards 2 is an excellent fix of dark RPG goodness and tactical combat. With a more streamlined approach to levelling and upgrades, this Dark Eye Universe RPG proves that you don't need wet-eared heroes to create an epic storyline with interesting characters, and the tactical gameplay is what will keep you engaged and gripped for many, many hours. Coming barely a year after the original BlackGuards, it's easy to be cynical in these troubled times that developers are after a quick groat and ready to milk their franchise and fans dry. BlackGuards 2 is a prime example of how a small team at Daedalic Entertainment has taken the criticism of the first game, stripped out what didn't work, and replaced it with a far less taxing process for levelling up and giving you the freedom to design and shape your protagonists how you like. BlackGuards 2 starts with a fantastic, if slightly slow tutorial where you'll get to know the game's main protagonist Cassia and watch her descend into madness, torture and revenge deep within Dungeon Catacomb. But it's not long until you escape, and after being hideously disfigured through years of spider bites, you plot your revenge to overthrow King Marwan, who threw you down there in the first place. Sounds dark? It is, thankfully. BlackGuards 2 has a great sense of black humour that goes with it, which means it never gets po-faced about what's happening to its characters, but it also has enough atmosphere to convey the Dark Eye universe when it needs to. A few characters from the first game return, and they've fared very differently from each other, but all given reasons to follow Cassia. It's this thematic darkness of the Dark Eye universe that gives BlackGuards 2 a refreshing take on the tactical fantasy genre. Cassia is no hero, and her disfigurement caused by countless attacks by spiders in the introduction gives her a fanatical bitterness usually reserved for the antagonists of such fantasy tales. That each of the main characters are a mix of humour, selfishness and arrogance, driven by little other than negative emotions, make this a great relief from such overly heroic nonsense that gets spouted about in Dragon Age and other RPGs. That's not to say BlackGuards 2 doesn't have any character development or touching moments, it does, but being wrapped in such a dark blanket of vice makes those moments all the more meaningful. And the voice acting for Cassia is among the best I've heard, with her dark mutterings hilarious and melodramatic. If you're not familiar, combat is turn-based, taking place on a hex-based grid with a large array of spells, skills, special moves and tiered weapon upgrades to unlock and use. This gives you a large amount of agency to craft each character how you want, with only a few restrictions aside. Improvements here in BlackGuards 2 are immediately apparent because how easy it is to apply the experience points through battle. Direct levelling of talents and skills is now possible, and magic spells are always casted successfully, previously needing an extra roll to determine a successful cast or not. Each character will earn individual points, which is then applied to whatever spell or upgrade you wish. It's really easy, simple, and yet allows for a deep level of character customization. I'm not going to lie, I was overwhelmed at first, as there are 4 screens packed with different abilities to level or upgrade. But give it an hour or so and you'll be getting hot under the collar for all the stat porn you can handle. But it's not all pleasurable cutthroats and grimy ass bandit fun though. In the beginning, BlackGuards 2 drags its heels in a very frustrating fashion, with a slow tutorial and a long wait until you unlock the main map. It's not a game-breaking pacing issue, especially if you're prepared for a decent-sized game like this, but what will stick a shiv in your eye is how difficult these battles can be. The first battle after the tutorial is more of a rout, and introduces the element of trap setting which comes to the fore later in the game. But here you're tasked with fleeing Naurim's home from bounty hunters many levels above you. It took me about 5 attempts to complete after dropping the difficulty setting down to easy. Now I'm not averse to a challenging battle, but it seems the attempt here was to teach you the best method for this scenario. But making it take 2 hours rather than say 20 or 30 minutes is a drag, and being so early on in the game, it's an aspect that could put a few players off, which, to be honest, would be a mighty shame as BlackGuards 2 is an impressive sequel. With Cassia's motivation purely to avenge her lot in life, it makes the aim of overthrowing the king and wresting control of the land much more realistic and bloody. Although I'm not a sadistic dictator in real life, please don't ask my kids, the chance to do this in a game is surprisingly satisfying, especially when you can interrogate prisoners at your camp for more information and decide if you want to be merciful or as ruthless as Cassia is unhinged. These have a bearing on the main game, as a successful interrogation can unlock new units or secret passages, broadening the strategic elements of the game into a more political one as well. Do you act mercilessly to solidify your alliance with the mercenaries, or be more benevolent and risk appearing weak? As I outlined in my preview, the biggest improvement comes with the strategic map in the campaign. Here you'll wage war against Marwan and you'll both be grabbing land and more from each other. Now those territories you claimed will need defending with mercenaries, and the way control of these strategic areas can change makes the campaign feel more alive than the linear focus of the first game. With this campaign comes another new feature, the defensive battle. Here you'll have to defend a location, city or otherwise from counterattack by Marwan's forces. In that first post-tutorial battle, the game introduced a setting of traps and how interactive parts of the combat area are. This is where you'll have to use them to stave off an assault. On paper it sounds fairly decent, and there's nothing quite like funneling hapless goons into a zone where you can take them down easily. Unfortunately, it also takes away from the main thrust of the campaign, which, to be honest, I'd rather be playing than marshalling a defence. I mean, surely Cassia has someone to do this for her? If you fail at defending in this instance, then you'll be forced to retake the map against an entrenched opponent, a potentially annoying and much harder battle. But aside from this negative, BlackGuards 2 is every bit the sequel the first game needed. The improvements and alterations allow you to get into and enjoy the tactical battles more than ever, and the Dark R universe creates a complex and, frankly enjoyable, miserable world of nasty people doing nasty things to each other. Coming so soon after the first entry, BlackGuards 2 is a surprisingly packed improvement over the original, giving you the chance to dominate and rule over South of Venturia with all the bitterness and rage such a task would need. It won't suit all newcomers to PC tactical RPGs, but even those with the slightest bent towards getting knee-deep in stats and tactical battles, then BlackGuards 2 is a worthy purchase. 8 out of 10.